bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Well, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for clicking on the video. This episode will be on the King of the Ring 88. Our prior two winners in the save are in the archives if you want to get further analysis, but 86 DiBiase, Randy Savage, 87. So, we're going to see who brings it home this year for the 88 King of the Ring. Pretty excited about it. The top feud looks promising and a little different than what we have done in the past with our tournament. Definitely a lot of younger talent in this year's tournament. Before, it was mostly established talent. 86, even though DiBiase won it, he was a new guy. He's in the situation that some of the guys who are in the tournament this year have been in. Savage was, a mainstay. He was here when I had started this save. So, it was almost kind of overdue for him. He now is the WWF champion and will be facing Roddy Piper in the co-main event. Piper won in the pay-per-view prior, that's in the archives, defeating Ricky Steamboat in a rematch, and then declared himself the number one contender, to which the commissioner agreed, and now he gets a shot at the top. He will go one-on-one with Savage, and their rivalry dates back years at this point, to when Piper was a face before he ever won the heavyweight title himself, before Savage won it certainly. They had kind of a friendly rivalry. They had tagged together, kind of a competitive nature between the two. But now, rather than proving he's better than Savage by beating him in the contest, like in a clean manner, he wants the title and really doesn't care how he gets it. Whereas Savage still has a little bit of respect for Piper, but Piper has shown none in return. But we will get to Savage's take later on in the night. But for round one, the initial matchup, we have Rick Rude going against Magnum TA. And if you saw some of the prior videos, I had told you guys again and again, and this was the recommended stadium actually. I didn't alter it. I'll just leave it if the recommended stadium isn't in Puerto Rico. Which, Puerto Rico, actually, if you're doing a pay-per-view, I think it changes. So, you can run entertainment segments without getting penalized, whereas on TV, you will. So, I guess, I might do a pay-per-view there in the future. However, it's going to be hard to draw 50,000. But back to the match. Magnum, in the Southeast he's a top guy without a doubt. You can see that here. He gets a big win over Rick Rude, who's definitely been a guy we're trying to develop to be that next flock of guys to take over. We're already starting to see kind of a transition, and this pay-per-view is kind of something that I think we will look back on a year or two down the line and say this is really, where we started to pick the guys who we know are going to be able to lead this company into a new era. Rude is definitely one of them. Magnum, he's young himself. I think he might be more of a kind of an in-between guy, in between Hogan's generation and this new generation that we're still currently trying to build up. Then we have Davey and Vader. They put on a pretty good match. I'm a little bit scared that Vader did not have that great of a match, but time could have been one of the reasons. Nonetheless, this is definitely a rivalry that we saw early in both of their careers in WCW in real life. And Davey's kind of established as a tag competitor, Vader as a tag competitor as well, but we've definitely done more work for Vader as far as a singles competitor. And I think he is closer to being fully established as someone who can step right into the top heel role and really do some damage there. Davey, I think he's pretty close, but he's not quite where Vader is. Vader, honestly, in 6 months' time could be a credible challenger for the heavyweight title. No doubt. Especially if it's a sustained push for 6 months. Davey, potentially, but I think he's got more of an IC aim, at least this early on. But, things change, and sometimes people can really break out. But that is just my thought process as of now. Then Sting cuts a promo. He is involved in this King of the Ring tournament as well. Some backstory coming out of the pay-per-view prior that is in the archives on the profile. Hulk has been kind of in a war, so to speak, with DiBiase and his $1 million corporation. Mr. Perfect, Stan Hansen, Harley Race, and at the helm, Ted DiBiase. Sting has told Hogan that he has his back. Misawa has also had his back, who we will see later tonight, as well as Tito Santana. However, on television, the week following that pay-per-view, Sting says, "Man, I got your back." And then, following the main event, Sting was nowhere to be found as three of them just absolutely demolished Hogan. The next week, Sting told Hogan of the situation. Stan Hansen had basically attacked me backstage and locked me in a room so that I could not help you. I was unable to get to you. Kind of inserting him in the feud as well. So now he's kind of a marked man as well as Hogan. But tonight, he is not worrying about any of that. He is only worrying about proving himself on this roster. He's yet to win any gold, and this would be a tremendous opportunity and moment for him. Then we go right into his match with Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret definitely killing it since he's coming off his feud with Jake the Snake Roberts. He had, I believe, the second highest performance rating behind Magnum. And I honestly, that Jake the Snake feud really did help Bret. A sustained singles push definitely did wonders for him. I think after this, I'm definitely going to have to reconsider my direction with Bret moving forward, especially since the tag division, I kind of have a vision as to where I can go with it for at least a few months. So during this time, I think is really when we're going to see the groundwork laid for Bret, Davey, perhaps even Dynamite as well. Jim Neidhart, you know, I don't see a sustained push in him. Dynamite is even on, you know, he's on the cusp of it. He could potentially get it, but it's kind of hard to push so many new people, even though they have been established as tag people in the singles realm. Nonetheless, Brett certainly seems like he's ready to keep getting pushed as a single star. So far, all like the kind of young bucks getting the opportunity here are doing okay. Pretty good matches, but no one has yet to really put on a great bout. But here, coming up next, we're going to have Henning versus Misawa in what I really hope steals the show here. And they do phenomenal. Perfect did his job, and Misawa did not hold them back one bit. But as you can see, the $1 Million Corporation is getting involved early, and I'm sure they will be getting involved often as Hansen interferes and allows Henning to hit the Henningplex, aka the perfect plex, for the victory, and he will be moving on to the second round. Here we got Magnum saying that, you know, he's looking forward to a rematch with Vader. Prior on pay-per-view, we had Magnum defeat Vader one-on-one, and Corny says it's not going to go that way this time. And we jump right in to a match between the two, and Magnum elevates it enough to keep the match rating high enough. I'm already starting to get the indication that this is kind of going to be, you know, a solid card, but nothing extravagant, which, all things considered, these guys have really never gotten this big of a spotlight. Certainly they've never gotten this much time on this big of a pay-per-view. I mean, I would consider this a part of the final five, or the big five. But it would rank 5. So obviously I would say WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and in between those four, you know, it kind of goes based on preference. You could argue Royal Rumble over SummerSlam, but I think that it's hard to argue that even King of the Ring in its prime would beat out any of those four. I mean, it might be closest to Survivor Series, but nonetheless, it's still its own beast, so to speak. But nonetheless, Magnum elevates this match. Vader does his part, doesn't drag it down, and he will be moving on to the finals. Here we have some promos. Sting kind of calling out the $1 Million Corporation. Perfect calling out Sting. They both want a shot at each other, and this is definitely a dynamic match. Don't think we have had it in the past. And surprisingly, chemistry is not good between the two. So I think this might be a low 80s. Hopefully, it's not in the 70s. But definitely would have been an interesting match had it been a big program in real life. But let's see what we get out of this one. Man, mid-70s. That'll happen, especially with bad chemistry. But the reasoning, it did prolong the story that we wanted to tell. And if you've seen any of my King of the Ring videos in the past, which I believe all of the other ones are in retrospective videos, so check them out if you want. But I like to, at least with the last two, including this one, tell a self-contained story, so to speak. So the pay-per-view itself has a narrative going on throughout. And obviously, it draws inspiration what went on leading into it. But there's a story that we're trying to tell here. Harley gets Perfect disqualified. Now Sting will go into the final. Now we only have 2 matches left. And this heavyweight title match will give Sting and Vader a much-needed break but this is certainly a clash of the Titans. And Savage, who has been friends with Piper in the past, longtime friends, felt betrayed when Piper turned his back on Hogan and the rest of the WWF roster, seemingly, says, I'm going to earn your respect tonight. Win or lose or draw, you're going to respect me coming out of this, because I'm going to beat the crap out of you. You're going to try to beat the crap out of me, but I am not going to stop moving forward until I come out the victor. And he does just that. This is the match that should have been booked months prior, but prolonged it by inserting Steamboat into the equation. We got two good Piper and Steamboat matches. Now we got finally the one-on-one Piper and Savage match for the title, with Savage being the champion this time. And what else would you expect? You know, when Piper had the title years prior, man, they put on barn burners back then, and now when Savage has the title in '88, they are absolutely tearing the house down, and they add another instant classic to their match history. Maybe should have saved it for SummerSlam, but I think coming out of this, I have the option to do a rematch, Piper Savage again, back to back. I can do Piper Steamboat 3 to settle the score there. There's, a few avenues. Now, if it's not Piper, I will say I'm not 100% sure on which direction I should go. Especially a big pay-per-view, which in my mind, SummerSlam is probably the second biggest. You could argue Rumble, I was talking about this earlier. But you kind of want to go in with an established build, kind of a big build going in. However, here, there's potential perhaps I could go in and use it as a springboard like I did with the WrestleMania for this year, WrestleMania 4. We'll see. Definitely building up a lot of heels right now in the $1 Million Corporation, so there's certainly a route to go, and after the final of this, perhaps there's something that I can do to advance both stories. So we'll just check it out and we'll see. We have Hogan found beaten backstage, who, in the significance of this, even though it's kind of a minor story, is that he would have likely, been ringside to ensure that Sting got a fair shake in the finals, despite the fact that he wasn't ringside in the prior matches. But it's the finals. Sting has shown that he can persevere. Now he would probably want to be there to make sure that he didn't put in all this work and then get the rug pulled out from under him at the last second. But in the finals, that is exactly what happens. And I've got to be honest with you, I'm really stoked that both of these competitors took the ball and ran with it in the finals. I've got to be, frank with you. I was a little bit worried, especially in the matches leading up to this, that the final might not live up to the hype that it usually is able to bring, so to speak. All the finals have been pretty good up until this point. Actually, very good up until this point. DiBiase's victory in '86 over Savage was a 99, I believe. Then Savage defeated Hennig. It was in the 90s as well, and now Vader and Sting follow suit, and Vader becomes a king of the ring. Certainly a coronation and an indication that Vader he's a marked man. Or not a marked man, he's a made man. He's won the tag titles, now the king of the ring. He has the accolades to back up all the power in the world, and must I say more? It's time. It is Vader time. Not to mention the fact that DiBiase was the man who sealed Sting's fate. He really didn't have anyone to have his back. Mind you, the Blade Runners are still in existence. However, Sting has been a singles competitor for about over a year, although intermittent tag matches have taken place between him and the Warrior. But, and this was kind of a minor storyline going in, however, I probably should have mentioned it. It makes sense here, though, because I really didn't want to tip the hand too much and, give away the final of this in case people, wanted the suspense of the match. But the Barbarian, a new pickup who just came in about, at the beginning of last month, had attacked Warrior. Now he's kind of in a feud with the Barbarian. So really any ally that he could turn to was already involved in their own mess and really couldn't face the odds, so to speak. So storylines coming out of this. Vader, certainly, he might be in line for the title. That might be the logical step to put Vader in the title match against Savage. Again, could do Piper Savage for SummerSlam. However, I don't know. I think I'm leaning towards Steamboat Piper for a third match coming out of this. Who knows? But I think that would be logical because it elevates or continues Vader's push and then puts Steamboat back in a marquee position in a match that is sure to really perform. But I guess we're going to have to stay tuned to see what happens in the future. Thanks for watching this video. I appreciate it. I'm certainly very stoked about the outcome of this card. Let's check out the rating. I'm expecting in the 90s. 94, hey, I will take it, especially considering this card did a lot for the young talent on this, the young and kind of developing talent that haven't gotten a crap ton of opportunities. The top of the card really kind of elevated this one over the top, so I'm really happy about that and excited to move forward to SummerSlam. So I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you did, and I will catch you on the flippity flip.